Thanks for joining us for Turn the Page with Paige, brought to you by Southwestern Illinois College. I'm your host, Paige Hulsey. Every single woman knows the feeling of looking in the mirror or looking at those around you and comparing yourself. In the children's book, Miranda's Mirror, a young girl can't help but notice she looks different from her friend and wonders, does different still mean beautiful? Author Jill Monaco from Illinois joins us in studio. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Take me back to your inspiration behind this book. Where did the idea come from?
You know, I was on a plane, one of those red eyes, and I was half sleeping, half awake, and the whole story got downloaded to me in just a quick thought. And I picked up my iPhone and I typed it up, including the name of it, which is interesting because I didn't know until I researched months later that Miranda actually means beautiful. And so that was really cool.
It feels very serendipitous, in a way.
It did, very much.
What motivated you, though, to take that idea that just came to you, the story that came to you on a plane, and actually turn it into a book? Because there was some time between those two.
Yeah, I had tucked it away, and I wasn't sure when the right timing was, and I was busy doing other things. And then my nieces were all like young preteens or teenagers, and I noticed how much they were struggling with their identity, and trying to teach them that it's not about what's on the outside, but what's on the inside that really matters. And the message really in the book is that there's more to it than just what we see in the mirror. Yeah. And so they really inspired me to finish it. When it was done, the 18-year-old started crying, and she's like, "Why am I crying?" It was really cute. So it impacts us as grown women too.
Right. It's a message that resonates with women in all stages, all eras of life. So take us into the pages of the book and tell me more about the story inside and how you wove that message through the pages.
Yeah, well, Miranda, it goes through her whole life. So it starts as a baby, and her parents are like, "You're so beautiful," just like parents do, and hold her in front of this beautiful mirror. It's got claw feet, and it's just one of those stand-up mirrors. And then she's a little girl and crawls up and is like, playing with her, with her image. And then it progresses through when she's playing dress up or going to school, and her mom just tells her she's beautiful, until the day that you mentioned that she sees herself with her friend and wonders, my friend has darker hair than me, different skin color. What does that mean about who I am? And then she has this moment of crisis of, I don't know, and changes clothes a lot, until these sticky notes start showing up on her mirror. And the first one is, "You are fearfully and wonderfully made." And the next one is, "You are altogether beautiful." And these Bible verses start changing your heart. And then you notice that her liveliness comes back. And then the story progresses to college, and she's packing up for school, and she's sad, and her dad walks in the room, and he's like, "Why are you sad?" And she says, "I'm gonna miss the notes on my mirror." And that's when she finds out it was her father leaving the notes. And so that represents God and how he speaks to us in our identity.
And speaking of that life cycle, maybe that's why your 18-year-old niece even was so touched by this.
Yeah.
But people of all ages have been touched. This book was so well received that then you went on to make another version, this one though focusing on a young boy. We have it here. Tell me about Andrew's armor.
Well, it was interesting because there was a mega church with multiple campuses that wanted Miranda's Mirror. And they said, but we really need a version for boys because this message of identity is so important, especially today. And so I went home and I thought, all right, what do boys need? I have nephews, but they're not super emotional in telling you what their needs are. So I talked to some grown men and they said, we're taught to be brave and strong and courageous, but we don't realize that kindness and forgiveness and serving is also being brave and strong. And so Andrew's journey is very similar to Miranda. He has a crisis, when his friend, teases him when he falls and hurts his knee, and he thinks, I'm not strong anymore. And then his sticky notes start showing up on his box where all his armor is stored. You know how kids play in those armor things. And then he finds out at the end it was his father leaving the notes. In both books, they have an extension at the end where I thought the book was done, but my 8-year-old niece was like, wait, that's where it ends? Isn't there more? And so I created, both books have an ending where they're adults and they're married and they pass on the mirror or the armor and the message of identity to their children.
And that wisdom is so important to pass on to the next generation then.
Yeah.
And you also did that not only in words, but in music too. Tell us more about this incredible song that you worked with one of your dear friends to create.
Yes, my friend Meredith Andrews, she is a Christian recording artist and she's won Dove Awards. And I just asked her, would you write a song to go with Miranda's Mirror? And she did. And I read it to some school. I read the book to some girls in school and then played the song, and they were mesmerized and singing along with it. And it's all about being beautiful on the inside.
So for readers, whether they are enjoying Miranda's Mirror or Andrew's Armor, or either story, what do you want them to really feel at the end of this story?
I want them to be encouraged that they're uniquely made, and no matter what we look like or our personalities or our gifts, that God made them unique and special, and that they have something to offer, and to really help combat some of that comparison that's happening so much with social media. Yeah. And so I've really enjoyed seeing little kids just really start thriving in who they are and having that confidence because of the message. In the back of the book, there's also activities that the parents can do with their kids and scriptures to memorize. And so there's ongoing learning and messaging that can happen beyond reading the book.
And you're helping people with that ongoing learning later in life too, in different chapters. Tell me more about the coaching that you do.
Yeah, so I coach adults who kind of have identity crises or have gone through really hard things, and I call it freedom coaching. And I incorporate prayer and traditional coaching tools to help adults become who God created them to be, and who may have also, like me, didn't have these messages as a little kid.
One talent that you were given was her voice. Will you please share with our audience, because I think this is really neat, some of the voice work that you've done, because when we say that you've seen and you've read a lot of children's books, we mean literally aloud, right?
Yes. So I've narrated some children's books for Disney and My Little Pony and The Little People and a bunch of different books for kids. And so it's so fun to be able to narrate the book or be the voice on those push buttons, when someone pushes and goes, which one's the red one? Things like that. So it's been really fun to narrate. I narrate adult books too, but the kids' books are my favorite.
I'm curious if it is as joyful to create as it is as a parent to watch the kids enjoy it and listen to it.
Absolutely. It's so much fun when you get to be a character behind the scenes.
I bet so. Okay, so now that we've established your stuff when it comes to children's books, can you share a recommendation for another book with us?
Yes, my really good friend Aubrey Sampson has a book called Big Feelings Days. And it's great because it goes through lots of different feelings that kids have, and they wonder, is this am I beautiful? Is this feeling okay? Is it normal? What do I do with these big feelings? And so she's written a beautiful book to help kids work through those things.
That sounds like a great resource, especially this time of year, school underway, and all dealing with a lot of big feelings. Adults too. Maybe I can learn from it.
That's right.
Jill, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing the story behind these fantastic books. It was really great to meet you here.
Thank you for having me.
I want to thank you at home as well for joining us today for Turn the Page with Paige. We hope to see you again soon.